Hang on.
I know, right? It does beg the question.
All right. It is foiling with Art Nouveau stamps. Take 92.
Feels like 192.
Yep, it does.
So we played with these Art Nouveau foam stamps when they were new, and we haven't touched them since, and that was an oversight we really needed to correct.
Yeah, right? They've been in the closet.
Yes.
So.
And you're going to use the Art Nouveau stamps on wet strength tissue, and the beauty of that is literally the wet strength of the tissue.
Yeah, I like to stamp. I put the stamps in my artwork in the background, but I like to put it on a tissue overlay and then pick the best stamp, and then I can move it around. So I'm going to talk about that.
Yeah. Shall we go do it?
Yeah, let's go do it.
All right. We introduced Elizabeth's Art Nouveau foam stamps, and I don't know when we're actually going to show this video, but sometime about in the middle of June 2024, I believe it was. And this is the collection. We stamped these when we filmed that video, so they're here and you can see what they look like. And you know, a lot of times the way that my brain works, or sometimes the way that it doesn't, was to think about how to use these other than being a single motif. And I decided that an all-over pattern was probably a good way to go. So let me slide this out now. This is Macintosh Rose, and you can see that it works wonderfully. In fact, all of these work really, really well to make an overall pattern. This one is named Spring Blossom. Now, this is not a color that I would normally use. It's kind of this tan and gold color and brown, but I really like it. Well, it's shiny in its foil, so you really can't go wrong.
All right.
This one goes this way and is named, where is it? I'm looking at the chart. This is named Sinuous, and that's the stamp. And then this last one is named Water Lily, and again, upside down. But I've come back with that lovely combination of beiges and golds and browns. Again, not my normal thing. Now you'll notice that all of these are on black. That was very deliberate. Though foiling looks marvelous on white, as I always say, you can't beat the drama of black, and I thought that it was important to really have that foiling show. The other thing that is interesting, when you use something liquid like an adhesive with these foam stamps, you get this really cool patterning that happens. The more, and more is more, but you have to be careful. The more, I was gonna say paint, the more adhesive that you have, when you pick it up on the stamp and then apply it, you can get this patterning that happens. And so I think that that's pretty cool. And then when you get to the point like here, where you have less of the adhesive on the stamp, you tend to get a little bit smoother image. You can see here where some of that patterning formed. The other thing to know, that when you're stamping with a foam stamp and Deco Foil adhesive, which is what we're using today, don't expect a perfect image, because that's not gonna happen. You'll drive yourself crazy. You're gonna get open spots and voids. You'll get, you know, rippling the way that I did here, but maybe not over here. That's part and parcel of this particular technique. So don't get your panties in a knot over it, because it's not worth it. So I'm going to use, this is the stamp named Arabesque Border, and I'm going to use this, and I have a number 10 panel card also in black, and I'm going to use the Deco Foil adhesive, and I'm going to kind of put it out on the nonstick craft sheet. I'm going to spread it around with my finger, and I need to grab paper towel because I will have sticky fingers. And then I'm going to show you how I would stamp this kind of in an overall pattern. And normally I'm a just by the seat of my pants girl, but I took this and I thought, okay, how am I going to make this work? Because I can't fit 4 rows of this. They'll be so tight together. So I'm going to start in the middle, and then I'm going to offset, and I'm going to build my rows that way. So we will put out some of this adhesive. I guess there's not as much in this bottle as I thought.
I've been having too much fun with adhesive.
That's right. There's been a lot of foiling going on. Let's just put that to one side. Because I know that this stamp is long and thin, a little blob there, I'm going to spread it out this way. All right. So you do need to be prepared that this stuff dries sticky, so your fingers are going to be a little bit sticky. Just keep that in mind. Okay. So you can see that the adhesive has kind of rippled on there, and you're gonna see that when, maybe not when I stamp it, but you certainly will see it when it comes time to add the foil. This is a stamp that is not directional, so it doesn't matter which way I put this on this number 10 panel card. I don't know what that is. So I'm gonna roughly start in the middle, and again, I'm gonna press. Now, the thing that you have to be careful of, when you first put adhesive on here, you can push too hard and it will slide, and then you just have to start again. Ah, poo. We're gonna ignore that for the sake of test and demo purposes. It just is. So now I wanna come up here and I wanna offset this about halfway, and again, I'm eyeballing this. If it's not perfect, I'm okay. The only person who knows it's not perfect is me.
And me.
All right, fine, you too. So I'll come up here and I will stamp this. But the cool part is you get this pattern that happens that's pretty effortless. And let's see, come about here like that. Go ahead and tap. And then I do need to catch right here. And then I need to catch right here. And then I have one more to do down here. Now this is probably not the best I've ever stamped Deco Foil glue, because there's always the pressure when you're on camera, but this is what we got for now. Now that's a mess. So see that there? You want to avoid that. Yep. Don't let this happen to you. So what we're going to do is I'm going to foil this just the way it is, because I want to show you the mistakes. This is what can happen when I get careless. So we're going to have to go put this out in the oven that is the backyard and let it dry. And this is going to take longer here. The thing to be aware of is that this is thin here and this is thick here. In the extra time it takes for this to dry, you may find that this goes beyond its most tacky state. So when you're applying the adhesive, you do want to keep that in mind a little bit. So now it's just a waiting game till this is dry. Now that I'm ready to actually apply the foil to the piece that I did, let me show you a little bit about foils. So iCraft Deco Foil is one of probably the more popular brands. They have their own brands. They have a ton of patterns and colors. Within the Deco Foil, you have the Brutus Monroe, and then there's also this line of Gina K fancy foils. Some of them are solid, but I really like the pattern ones. I'm going to use a green, so this is the one that I'm going to foil that with. It's named Emerald Watercolor. Now, keeping in mind that because I blobbed the adhesive on, it's possible that some of this, because here's my blob, some of this up here where it was thinner may have already gone past the point of being super adhesive. But if you do a better job than I did applying the adhesive, then that won't happen. So every foil, regardless of the pattern on the front, is this kind of dull silver on the back. You're always going to apply that silver side to the adhesive. I like to use a Baron because typically I can apply more pressure with this than I can with my fingers. If you attempt to foil before that glue is solidified and dried, it goes from white to transparent, you will squish the glue design. Been there, done that. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time and make this perfect, but I do want to give you an idea of what this looks like. So now as I peel this off, okay, so you need to come in here. Sometimes it helps to use this edge of the Baron to really get in there a little bit more finely. Let's see what that looks like. Okay. So again, you're never going to get a perfect impression. And some of this clearly went beyond the optimal sticky point. But if you spend a little bit more time, you can typically get it to adhere a little bit better.
Ooh, look at that.
It's really pretty. And I like the color change that happens on this.
Yeah.
So remember, the other thing to keep in mind too is that the broader the design, the better it's going to foil. If you have a really, really fine design, you're going to see probably less detail. So that's also something to keep in mind. And while I wouldn't call this a failure, it's clearly not as nice as any of the other ones of these, but that's primarily because these are much bolder designs. So think about your design, think about being cautious about how you apply the glue, and you too can have fun.
So Barb showed you how to apply the Deco Foil to the adhesive in the stamp designs, which is really quite a unique and interesting way to use the foam stamps, to actually stamp in metallic foil. So I did mine on wet strength tissue paper. I did it on wet strength tissue. Well, I did it on wet strength tissue paper because I want to overlay this onto a piece of artwork. And what this affords me is the opportunity to reposition it and to choose my best stamped impression before I go on to the mixed media background. I mean, I could stamp the adhesive right in here, but I wouldn't have the opportunity to move it around. And if I didn't get the best stamp impression, I'd be stuck with it. So for me, the wet strength tissue paper is really important for this part of the process because I just threw together this little mixed media background. And I'm gonna cut the tissue a little close to the stamp. And as long as you stay with a background that is a similar value to the paper. So for example, this is not gonna go over navy blue very well, but it'll go over this color and white and off-white, and the tissue will disappear. So that's the idea. So I did multiple different designs, so I would have a lot of options, and I did multiple different Deco Foil colors. So I did like ombre and bright colors, and then golds and browns. And I think that I like this the best, but I don't know.
You can always pick it up if you don't like it.
Yeah, I can always remove it if I don't like it, and I have a lot of options. So basically, I'm going to use my number 8 short-handled Princeton Catalyst Filbert brush. This is my favorite glue brush because of the rigidity of the bristles. They allow me to press down and get the item that I'm gluing really nice and flat because the bristles are very springy. And I'm using Liquitex Gloss Gel Medium. I know that a lot of people like to use matte for these sorts of things, but I think for this Deco Foil, if you're going to put matte medium over it, you're going to compromise the shine. So I always use gloss in my collage work because I don't want to compromise the shine or the color or the intensity of anything. Matte dulls the intensity of your color, so I always use gloss. So I'm going to basically put consider this to be like my large piece of artwork ephemera background, and I want to add this like in a corner or somewhere. So I'm going to put the glue down first onto the ephemera, and this is just old papers glued down together. And then I'm going to put my Deco Foil stamp in there, and I'm going to add more glue over the top, and that's when this brush comes in handy, pressing out the wrinkles, smoothing it out, and pressing with the glue to get as much glue as I can to go through the tissue to make that background color disappear. So then I've got the stamped icon, that Art Nouveau stamp on the background. So say I don't like that because it's not standing up all that great, especially with that white. So because this is the wet strength tissue, I can get the edge of it and take it off. And if I wanted to move it, I can move it somewhere else because it's a wet strength tissue. It's not tearing or falling apart. So if I say I just wanted to reposition it, I could lift it up that way. But I'm thinking it's not enough contrast for my background. So here's a pink one. So maybe this is the one that I need to use. So again, I'm just going to go through the same process. And this just gives me flexibility. And, if I have fear of commitment, didn't we say that one other time? If fear of commitment, we can always take it off
That's right.
and reposition it. So here we go again. I'm going to put this here over my background. And the key to getting that tissue to disappear is to get as much glue through it as you can. That makes it more transparent. And again, maybe my background's a little wee bit darker than it should be. But here you go. So now that's a better contrast. That shows up off of my background better. So I can you know, adjust accordingly with the stamps that I have. So this little background I just made with papers, and I tinted it a little bit with paint. But I also want to show you this background that I have put on a wood panel. This is actually one of my mixed media background rice papers. So it's from an old envelope, and it's got the stamp marks and some tissue and stuff. And this is the kind of mixed media background that I would use this stamp for in my art. So I told Barb I wasn't going to glue it on here because I don't know what I'm doing with this background, but you know what? Let's go for broke. We'll put it in here. And like I said, if I don't like it, I can always pick it up while it's wet. But this is a little bit lighter in tone than this one. And so I think I can get away with this one with the yellow on here, but let's see. So if you remember, that was the one that I glued down already once. But because I have the wet strength tissue, it holds up to a little bit more wear and tear. So again, I'm pressing the glue over the top with the brush and pressing it down. And there, I've just added an element of metallic stamp to all the other fun things I have going on in this background. And again, if I decide that that's really kind of right where my subject might be, I pick it up, I come up to the top, and I just reposition it. And it doesn't wrinkle, it doesn't fold, it doesn't tear. So that's the third time that I have glued this down. So that is the benefit of the wet strength tissue and putting your stamp on a piece of paper that you can move around. So yeah, so we hope that you have fun with the Art Nouveau foam stamp. All right then, we'll see you next week.
Bye.